Hey, what's up guys? So I came back in my garage today to kind of fiddle around with the bike, and I was playing around with the clutch levers and brake lever for the handlebars, and I was looking at it and I was like, you know what, I want to get this bike on two wheels so I can move it around, get it off the lift and stuff. So I decided I'm going to get the back put together, but to do that I got to get this hub painted black because I don't want it to be that nickel color. So what I've done here is I'm going to paint it while it's still on the bike. So I went through and cleaned it up really good with some brake cleaner and some mineral oil. Then I went over it with a wire brush. So I just took my drill here, my Makita drill with a wire brush, brush it up, you know, just to scuff it up, then hit it with some 80 grit sandpaper just to get it all scuffed up so that the paint will adhere to it. Yeah, but now I'm gonna basically just take some self-etching primer, hit it with that, a few coats, and I'll show you what it looks like after that. So this is gonna be a quick video. I'm just gonna do this real quick, show you the before, scuffed up, taped off the important things, and yeah, hit it with the primer, and back in a second and show you how it looks with primer. Alright, so I just hit it with some primer, as you can see. Now it's all ready for the final top coat. So that's just one quick coat of self-etching primer. The self-etching primer is nice because it's got a little, I think it's acidic is what it works, and it burns into the metal a little bit to give it a better coating so it sticks, so the paint adheres stronger. So yeah, now I'm just going to give it a coat of my VHT black wheel paint. This is the same paint I used on the wheels. So yeah, I'm just going to turn the camera off, do it real quick, and show you how it came out. Alright, so here it is with the first coat of paint on it. It's going to dry more matte. This is a satin paint, so it's not supposed to be super glossy. It's just very wet right now. My camera's not liking the lighting on it. But anyway, so yeah, I'm going to dry. That's the first coat. Give it 15 minutes to dry a little bit, and then hit it with a quick second coat. Then pull all the tape off, and that's it. Just let it dry fully so I can put the wheel back on. So I'll be back in a second. Alright, so the second coat's been applied, and now I'm just kind of waiting for that to dry. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I figured I would just put the rotor back together on the wheel and show you how that works. So yeah, the rotor basically just slips over here. You have these 6 bolts, 6 holes, line it up. Fairly easy, straightforward. And you got these little retaining clips here. These go over the hole. And we're going to take our bolts, slip those in. I'm going to put a little blue thread locker on there. I like to make sure that's secure and that's not going to come undone. But yeah, that's really all there is to it, to putting the rotor back on. Hey, what's up guys? So in an attempt to reassemble the rear of the XS1100, I decided I should probably get the rear brakes working. And to do that, I decided to take off the master cylinder and see what kind of shape it is. And it's clearly not been maintained very well. So as soon as I popped the cap off, I saw it's pretty rusty. I mean, this plate I can clean up, it's not a big deal. It's just like a little bracket in there. The rubber gasket, dirty as well, but totally savable, cleanable. The piston was actually working. When I would pump it, it would push fluid through the lines without any leaking, but as you can see, I already dumped out the nasty fluids. There's some of it that spilled, but this has clearly not been taken care of. And the fluid's probably never been changed in here, so you can see how gunked up the piston is, but everything's working, so I'm hoping if I disassemble this completely, I should still be able to save everything in there. Maybe won't have to reorder any rebuild kit. So that's what I'm going to do now, is I'm just going to take this whole thing apart and examine it piece by piece, clean it up, put it back together, and hopefully it all works so I can continue reassembling the rear. Alright, well that was a fun little job. So it was pretty difficult to get out. So this thing was so, I'll show you. You can just see how like rusty and crusty that is. Probably 30 years of never being taken apart and cleaned, rebuilt or anything. I mean, the fluid in there was just some nastiest fluid I've ever seen. But I'm fairly confident with enough brake cleaner and persistence, this will clean up real nice. The piston, it's pretty rusted down here, but this part doesn't contact any of the fluid or anything. This is just literally part of the piston that gets pushed up by a actuator. So the seal is actually looking good shape. There's a seal down here, still rubbery, still got, you know, life in it. Top one's good. And like I said, when I tested it, it was pushing fluid without leaking. So I'm fairly confident if we just give this a really thorough cleaning, and maybe I'll take a wire wheel and get some of that rust off, knock it off. Dust Boot was trying to do its job, but failing a little bit. You had one job. So dust got in there and made it crusty. That's all right. The biggest pain was getting this snap ring out. This snap ring was basically just rusted in there. So my snap ring pliers over there wouldn't do the job. They were just too weak. So what I had to do is use a hook tool and a lot of brake cleaner, and I just kind of scraped it a bunch around the edge and then hooked it and just pulled it until it broke free on both sides, then popped right out. This is a little shimmy plate that kind of holds it in place. So this, you got your piston with the seals, goes into the bore on the bottom of that. Let's do this like this. So I'm not going to push this in because the seals are pretty tight and it'll be hard to get out, but your piston would go with both seals on. This is missing the seal because it's right there, but imagine this seal is sitting like that. That slides in there with the spring on top of it, that spring. The chamfered side should be going into the seal, like so. And that'll go, or rather it goes on this part here, but that'll go in there. And this plate slides over the back of this. Once it's in place, snap ring is the final piece, and your brake caliper is rebuilt. So I mean, I can buy a rebuild kit of new seals and everything if I need to. I'm going to try and clean this up, save it. If I have any leaking issues or problems, I have no problem taking this apart and rebuilding it again. This plate, this would sit inside the actual reservoir portion, and you line up the holes in there, 2 little screw holes there, and then these screws hold that plate in there. Then you got your fluid goes in, and then gasket, metal plate, and then top cap, which I don't want to touch with brake clean because that'll discolor it, and 3 screws. So that's really it. I mean, it's a very simple thing. And then this bike was set up, I think you could do it 2 ways. So it was set up to have one port that goes to, that's not a port, one port that goes to the front of the bike and one port that goes to the rear. So ideally, originally this bike was designed so when you press the rear brake, it would actuate the rear and one of the calipers in the front, but most people don't like that design, so this was, I think, at some point converted because one of them was blocked off with this, and I'm going to maintain that style because I agree. I want this to be my rear, I want my front to be my front, and that's it. So yeah, we're going to clean this up really good now and rebuild it, put it back together, and hopefully have no issues. I'm not going to paint it. I kind of like this color, like a little discolored beat upness to it, so just a really good cleaning, get all that rust and gunk out of there. Sam clean the boot up, rebuild it. So come back in a minute and hopefully that'll be done. And there we have it, one fully rebuilt, restored caliper. So the piston's not in the best shape. You can see it's pretty freaking rusted out, but it actuates nice and smoothly. The seals are doing their job. I don't know if you can hear it, but you can get, there's suction coming out of the banjo bolt here. So everything feels good. So I'm pretty confident that this will work great. As you can see, I just had to really take a wire wheel in there and clean all that up. There's still a little bit of rust on the piston, but so much better than it was. Works great. Piston's doing its job. Moves nice and smoothly. Things all cleaned up. Let's show it inside. Shouldn't put these screws on real quick, but I'm kind of anal. I like to clean up all the bolts too, so I wire wheeled all these bolts. They were pretty nasty. One tip with these plastic caps, I wouldn't use brake clean on them. I've done that before and discolored them. So what I do is I just take like a screwdriver, kind of scrape any gunk that's built up, and then just use some Windex or something to clean them up as best you can. Brake clean will make them turn whitish. So I don't know if you remember this plate. This was pretty funked up and rusted too, so again, just tacked it with the wire wheel, cleaned it up. Gasket just needed some cleaning. That's brand new, or diaphragm rather, whatever you want to call it. Look at that. It's like brand new in there. So again, just kind of brake clean and use the wire brush. I didn't wire wheel that. This plate here just cleaned up all the gunk off of it. On the inside of this, just a lot of brake clean, a lot of napkins. Just get all that gunk out of there. You don't want to scrape into the plastic too much, so do that gently. Blew a bunch of brake clean through there. Blew some compressed air through the whole cylinder. Got everything out. Wire wheel, or not wire wheel rather. Wire brush inside the where all these snap rings and stuff go to give it a nice clean surface. But yeah, it's 100% better. And then again, wire wheeled the bolts because I'm anal like that. New copper washers. I'm very confident this should seal again. Where's that dust boot? So this is the dust boot that's going to go on the bottom here. And yeah, you have a rebuilt rear caliper. Now, if I do have problems with this leaking or any issues down the line, I'll just order a whole new piston set and rebuild it again. It's a very easy thing. One thing to note, when you put those two seals on the piston, make sure you lubricate them with a little brake fluid. I got some .3 here. Otherwise, you will have a pain in the ass time getting this to go in there. Yeah, that's it. So now I'm just going to finish up here. So here we can see the rear master cylinder is now back on the bike, attached to the frame. I've also reconnected the brake line that feeds to the rear, which connects to this bracket. And I was going to put the rear wheel on, and then I realized something's missing here. There's supposed to be a bracket. Well, that's the bracket that holds the caliper up, and I hadn't painted it yet. So, real quickly giving this a coat of paint. So I just kind of stripped it down, hit it with some primer real quick, just letting the primer air dry for a little bit, and then we'll hit it with the some black paint over here. So yeah, then the rear wheel will be going back on, and I'll show that process coming up. Alright, so the caliper bracket has now been painted. Quick coat of caliper paint. Shim plates are put on there, so this thing's all ready to go back together on the rear. So what we're going to do here is, this is the final gear, the final drive, whatever you call it. So there's a spline there, and there's a matching spline here on the wheel. You're going to bring the wheel up into here, then slide that gear into there, and slide it to the left until it pops over. Once it's on the left, then we have this brake line bracket here. There's a collar that goes in between that and that. And that collar is sitting, oh, there it goes. That collar's right here. So this collar's going to go in between those two items, like so, I believe. I think it slots into this piece if I'm not right, or the other way it slots in here. So yeah, it's going to go like that. Then the bracket for the caliper will go next, and then axle through. That's all there is to it, so here we go. Hey, she's standing on her own two legs again. So, back wheels all put back together. See that final look with the blacked out hub, new tires, blacked out rim, and rebuilt caliper. In the previous video I rebuilt the calipers. I did this one while I was waiting for this to dry after I painted it. I didn't feel I need to show you the rebuild again because it's in the last video, it's the exact same caliper. So this is all mounted back together. See, this bracket mounts to the caliper bracket as well. It all links up. Brake lines work. And then just for fun, I went ahead and bled the brakes and did everything, and we have brakes again. Nothing's leaking, it seems. Good pressure, stops the rear, so I'm excited. So yeah, she's standing on her own two legs and looking pretty good. I'm really liking the stance. The rear, I'd like to see the rear up a little bit. It's hard to tell in the video, especially the way she's leaning, but it sits pretty good, but I'd like to see that rear just bump up a little bit more to kind of give it more of like a downward angle, a little more aggressive. So I'm thinking we can get some new shocks, get some longer ones, and that should raise the back up a little bit. I can't really lower the front anymore without bumping into the handlebar. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. It's got that nice clean straight line almost. Just need to bump the rear up a little bit. I think it'll be good. I wish I could straighten it out for you to show you it, but you know, it feels good to see her on 2 wheels again and not on the jack, which has been sitting in here for 4 months like that. So a lot of progress today. Real excited about that. So brakes are pretty much done. I still got to connect the front ones and make sure they work, but I don't see why they wouldn't. It's just I ran out of brake cleaner, otherwise I would have hooked them up today. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Drop them down below, and stay tuned for more episodes. Peace.